one wants to join me. Okay. All right. So quick recap about park design. Park located in the city, a large garden we can all use. Parks improve the air quality of our cities and places to be active and play. Whilst parks may seem wild and natural, they're actually created by architects, so they're designed for spaces for people to enjoy. And this week we'll be designing a public water feature. And start with a question. They can take many forms. Can you think of any examples? And I suspect that they will come up with a few, but obviously the most obvious one is fountains. And I've got a photo here of the Trevi Fountain in Rome, which is a kind of iconic fountain. And making the point that a fountain is a piece of architecture and its name comes from the Latin meaning a source or a spring. And then we can ask what a fountain's for. And again, have maybe get some feedback and discussion. And make the point that, originally they were practical, they were for drinking. But now they're designed for all sorts of things. They can be designed for play, for decoration, or to create a dramatic effect. And that there are many possibilities for the design of fountains. So one example is something that's quite somber and calm, which is the Diana Memorial Fountain. It's a kind of undulating, gentle stream, if you like. But then fountains can also be playful and dramatic, like the Crown Fountain in Chicago, which is this, it's a pair of these monoliths with sort of screens with portraits, and the fountain is sort of coming out of the mouth. Also, you're probably familiar with this one if you've been to King's Cross recently. Fountains can create large public spaces like Granary Square, and they're kind of incredibly playful and fun spaces that designed around water. And that fountains can also serve a function like washing or drinking. Then the other kind of key part of this presentation is the sustainability aspect, right? So we make the point that water is a precious resource and that architects need to think about sustainability. And whilst we bring up sustainability a lot in Archimake, and a lot of the Archimakers may be aware of what sustainability means, it's worth just asking that question and seeing what they understand sustainability to mean. And it means to maintain or conserve the world we live in. And so when we design with water, we need to conserve the water we use. And then there's a short video about why we need to conserve water, and that's from the National Geographic. And so for our park design, what natural water resource can we use and how can we collect it? And there's a sort of water cycle diagram here. And probably they will come up with rainwater. That's going to be the most likely thing they think, but they might come up with other ideas. When you collect rainwater and reuse it, it's called rainwater harvesting. And the architects can include rainwater harvesting in their designs, and here are some examples, some sort of funky things that are kind of like that inverted umbrella. Like bowls or that kind of language, that kind of form. And so this week there's not going to be 2 tasks. I think from the feedback from Mondays with the prep school, they struggle a bit to get everything in with 2 tasks. Equally, feedback from the senior school is that sometimes they have more time on their hands, right? So this task has been designed to basically enable the prep school Archimakers to do 1 decent drawing, and the senior school Archimakers to potentially do a couple of drawings in the time. So it's a kind of 25-minute task. So the design should be fun and interactive, so they should draw inspiration from the examples that we've given them, and include rainwater harvesting in the proposal, and include people in the design. And then the handout will be so the drawing can be a plan, elevation, or perspective, and there's going to be a handout which is the same fountain which we've seen earlier drawn in 3 different ways. So we've got a perspective that's kind of I think, quite easy for them to understand what that is as a drawing. Section which they worked on last week, again, reiterate that's a side view, because I think that's the clearer way, particularly for the younger kids, to understand it, and a plan, bird's eye view. I think my intuition is that they probably will want to draw a perspective, and then if they have time, they can try drawing a more kind of orthographic plan or elevation. And so they'll have that as handout. So that's the presentation.